Hi guys, my name is Emma Digela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us on this video to talk about why these confessions will not survive appeal. We already see how Judge Rata is. He acts as if he's someone who wants to find the guys guilty. Come rain, come sunshine, he doesn't care. He will focus on finding them guilty. Anyway, before we talk about that, guys, please make sure you do not forget to like, to share, to comment, and most importantly, please make sure you are subscribed on the channel. Please make sure you are watching the videos up until the end and you are watching the ads that are coming through. When you are doing that, you will be supporting this channel financially and in numbers. Thank you so much. You are very much appreciated. Now, a confession can win a trial, but it can lose an appeal because trial courts look at credibility, appeal courts look at process. And on process, this confession is already dead. Both of them, by the way, or all four of them, I don't know. Appeal courts don't ask, do we believe it? Here is the first mistake people make. They think the appeal court will ask, did the accused confess? That is the wrong question. The appeal court asks, was the confession obtained lawfully, freely, independently, and without contamination? And in this case, the answer is no on every single requirement. South African law is settled. A confession must be voluntarily made without undue influence, free of coercive context, corroborated by independent evidence. If any one of those fails, the confession fails, not weakened, not questioned, excluded. Appeal courts are obsessed with context, and here is the context the record now shows. Original suspects were wrongly targeted. The investigation collapsed. Suspects were substituted. The case needed rescuing. This is not neutral investigative terrain. This is institutional pressure. And appeal courts have said it repeatedly. A confession extracted in a context of investigative desperation is inherently suspect. Also, the timing of the confession appears too late, okay? This confession did not lead to the investigation. It arrived after the Buthelezi theory collapsed, the forensic chain failed, the ballistic evidence was contaminated. On appeal, timing matters because a late confession is not discovery, it is a repair work. And the courts know the difference. And also, the substitution poisons independence. Here is a vital point. Once suspects are substituted instead of eliminated, the confession can never be independent. Why? Because the narrative already exists. The accused are not confessing to unknown facts. They are confessing into pre-written theory. Appeal courts call this narrative contamination. And once contamination is established, the confession cannot stand. Also, the same so-called confession of dance. That is the reason they are in court. Lack of corroboration is very much a lot there. Ask this simple appeal question. What independent evidence confirms the confession? The bullet, compromised. The crime scene, contaminated. Ballistic, dependent on a tainted exhibit. Eyewitnesses, contradictory and unreliable. So what remains? The confession standing alone. And the law is ruthless here. A confession cannot bootstrap itself into truth. Never. Section 35 of the Constitution is unforgiving. It protects the right to silence, the right against self-incrimination, the right to a fair trial. Appeal courts do not balance these rights, they enforce them. If the confession is even possibly coerced, it is excluded. No second chances. Why the trial court can still admit it? Here is the uncomfortable truth. The trial courts sometimes admit confessions to let the full picture be seen, assess credibility later, avoid premature exclusion. Appeal courts do not do that. They stripped the case down to first principles, and this confession does not survive that stripping. The appeal court's likely finding is as follows. An appeal judgment in this case will say something like this. The confession was obtained in a context of investigative failure, suspect substitution, and evidentiary collapse. Its admission rendered the trial unfair. That sentence alone would be fatal. And the domino consequence, once the confession falls, there is no forensic spine, no reliable ballistic, no uncontaminated scene, no coherent narrative. What remains is reasonable doubt, and reasonable doubt acquits. The confession may survive cross-examination. It may survive argument. It may even survive a verdict, but it will not survive appeal because appeal courts do not forgive shortcuts. And this case is built on one long shortcut from wrong suspect to substituted accused to a confession that arrived too late. Justice does not bend for desperation, and neither do appeal courts. So if it happens that Judge Ratta finds this guys guilty, he knows for a fact that thereby appeal court, these guys are going to get an acquittal. Judge Ratta knows that. That is why he keeps mentioning that if this case goes somewhere else, if this case goes, he knows. Oh, he knows. He knows exactly what will happen in appeal courts because he sees what he is doing. He's aware of his deeds. He's very much aware of his deeds. He knows what he's doing is wrong. Yes, let me drink water before I finalize my video. Yes, Judge Ratta may be all the things that we say he is when we are angry at him, yes. But one thing that he's not a dumb cop. Yes, arrogancy, ego, etc. may be clouding him, but he's not a dumb cop. That's one thing about him. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing when he keeps saying, in case this case goes somewhere. He knows exactly what he is saying when he says that. He's not thumping that. He's saying it because he knows it's going to go somewhere. We have seen what he does in that courtroom. He stands with the state side of things all the time. Sorry. And he is always busy with everything that supports the state, the narrative of the state, the reverence that he has for Baloyi, the reverence that he has for Gininda. He believes in them. He believes they can do no wrong. They are senior. Baloyi is a senior court official who will never jeopardize his career. Gininda is a brigadier, a senior police official who will never jeopardize his career. So it means the accused are lying according to how he behaves. Anyway, guys, I want us to have a discussion there by my comment section. Let's talk about this. I want to hear your views. Please drop your like. Let me know what you think. And I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.